Africa Business News, proudly sponsored by EY. On Africa Business News, the World Bank raises another $100 million to combat Ebola, and Rwanda plummets from 32 to 46 on the World Bank's 2015 Doing Business report. Stay tuned.
Africa, it is huge, it is diverse, and its business landscape always fascinating and dynamic, and that's our business here on your favorite weekly African business stop. We're joined by Bonnie Tunya in Nairobi and Wale Famrewa in Lagos. My name is Victor Homoeswana, and this is the Africa Business News. Now, Bonnie, Kenya's tourism has been struggling to recover, falling almost 14% in the first half of this year. And Bonnie, there's another setback, you tell me, in Kenya. What is that about?
That's right, Victor. Sadly, there is another setback. Simultaneous dawn attacks in Mombasa's Nyali Army Barracks and the Administration Police main camp in Malindi on Sunday took at the set dim of the quick recovery of Kenya's tourism sector. Now, a gang of between 15 to 20 men dressed in all black and wearing red and blue ribbons around their heads and legs attacked the army barracks. Now, soldiers shot dead 6 of the attackers, who also slashed and injured a soldier as another gang attacked the Administration Police camp and destroyed property before they were driven away. Well, Victor, the government blamed the outlawed Mombasa Republican Council for the attacks. The attack ended in a lull in gun and grenade assaults that had hit Nairobi, Mombasa and Lamu, prompting Britain and US, France and Australia to issue travel warnings that pushed bed occupancy in hotels to record lows, Victor.
Well, that's not a good story for tourism, but give us a rundown of the reaction to the recent World Bank Ease of Doing Business report. A lot of movement in the East African region in particular.
Kenya has scoffed the new World Bank survey, indicating the country has only marginally improved its business regulatory environment, industrialization and enterprise development in the country. Well, the Cabinet Secretary, Dan Mohamed, said the World Bank report, dubbed Doing Business 2015, going beyond efficiency, ignored recent state-driven interventions that have significantly improved Kenya's business climate.
Well, I like it when the world is watching because we do our best here in Africa. But Rwanda plummeting from the 32nd spot to 46, is that a signal that things are getting worse in Rwanda or what?
Victor, under the previous methodology used by the World Bank in 2014 doing business surveys that ranked Rwanda 32nd easiest place to do business in the world. But under the new methodology, Rwanda's previous position of 32 had since changed to 48th, but it has now improved to 46th position in the new report. But Victor, despite the effects of the new methodology, Rwanda retains its position among the top 3 easiest countries in Africa to do business, ranked 3rd behind Mauritius and South Africa, and of course ahead of Ghana and Botswana. However, Victor, the Rwandan Development Board Chief Executive Francis Gatere is not too amused by this.
The former finance minister and outgoing president of the African Development Bank, Dr. Donald Kaberuka, nominated for the 2014 Forbes Person of the Year, Bonnie, but also Kenya-based Equity Bank targeting Rwandan nationals in diaspora for its banking solution. Just how much money are Rwandans living outside of their country sending home every month? Is it a lot of money?
Well, it is relative, but Equity Bank Rwanda launched diaspora banking services last week. And according to the statistics from the National Bank of Rwanda, Rwandans living abroad sent over $46 million between July 2012 and June of 2013.
You're still on Africa Business News. In the Southern African region, it's been an eventful week. The passing of President Michael Sata of Zambia, the King Cobra, as they dubbed him. And now Guy Scott is acting as head of state. And in South Africa, we saw the continuation of boardroom dancing at HCI following the departure of Executive Chairman Marcel Golding, among others. We also had report of, well, we didn't hear reports, we experienced a lot of load shedding, something the economy can least afford. This resulted after South Africa's struggling power utility Eskom had more drama over the weekend. A cold storage silo at the Majuba power station collapsed, cutting generation capacity in an already overstressed grid. Yesterday on Power Lunch, Eskom spokesperson Andrew Edzinga shed some light on the issue. Pardon the pun.
What happens from here? You said no load shedding today, but where do we go into the future?
The recovery plan has gone well since Saturday, and we've managed to get coal into at least 2 of the 6 units at the power station. So we're getting power from 2 of the generators, which means that we're not in load shedding. We've managed to avoid that. That's 2 of the units. We'll be bringing back another 2 on the same basis, and then the final 2 after about 2 weeks. So the power station itself will be, if I say, limping along, but the measures are working properly, which means that the silo in itself is not critical.
The mining firms, the industrial firms, your communication to them, are they slightly more cautious now with supply?
The first thing we do as a matter of course is to contact our large industrial customers about any constraints for 2 reasons. Firstly, they do have people underground which could be affected by any power disruption. But secondly, we do ask them to cut back on electricity usage on non-essentials where possible. And they always come to our assistance. We're very grateful for that. So yesterday, as well as the load shedding in the residential areas, we also did ask our large industrial customers to cut back. So that was done. From today, industry is back to full production, no load shedding. So it's under the circumstances, has gone very well.
Although Edzinga said there would be no rolling blackouts, Johannesburg residents have reported otherwise yesterday and today. But moving on to West Africa next, Wale Famurewa is going to give us what's going on in that part of the world. Wale, we know that after claims and counterclaims and denials about the ceasefire with Boko Haram, there's no deal yet. That is becoming a long-running battle in Nigeria, this Boko Haram story. But Burkina Faso makes the headlines this week for what appears to be a coup. Is it a coup, and who's in charge there?
Burkina Faso is certainly a big story in this region these days. The military have just 2 weeks to hand over power to a civilian government or face economic sanctions. That is what the African Union has said. The army are accused of acting unconstitutionally. When it took over power, President Campores resigned, of course, last Friday. Campores' 27 years in charge of the landlocked West African country ended last Friday when his bid to change the constitution to extend his rule was thwarted. A power struggle ensued, and on Saturday, Presidential Guard Commander Lieutenant Colonel Isaac Zida was appointed as the transitional leader. However, the African Union and the United Nations are talking tough now, calling for a swift restoration of civilian rule. But under Burkina Faso's constitution, the head of the National Assembly should take office if the president resigns with a mandate to organize elections within 90 days. But as you know, the army has dissolved the legislature and suspended the constitution.
Well, we don't like violent takeover of governments, and that's going to affect the economy of ECOWAS as a whole. Again, I hate to admit it, Ole, but it looks like the Ebola crisis is the most effective way to unite West Africa, if not the entire Africa of the rest of the world. The World Bank raising what, $100 million more to deal with the crisis in Liberia. Tell us about that.
Well, as you may know, the bank has already distributed $105 million. So this $100 million will be added to that number. Liberia, the country worst hit by Ebola, may be seeing a decline in the spread of the virus, though the battle to contain the outbreak is far from won. That's according to the World Health Organization. That was in a statement last week. But the WHO said the number of burials and new admissions had fallen, and there was a plateau in laboratory-confirmed cases, though the WHO is also cautioning against overly optimistic conclusions. And almost 300 fewer people have died from Ebola in Liberia than previously thought, while more than 200 have been added to the number in Sierra Leone.
Well, let's see if there's a silver lining to this cloud, a positive spin on the Ebola crisis. Air Côte d'Ivoire, the national airline of Ivory Coast, announcing the resumption of its flights to Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea. There's an apparent resurgence also of investment inflows into these 3 countries as well. Gold production about to commence in Liberia, Wale?
Yeah, absolutely. That's great news. Orios Mining, prospecting for gold in Liberia's Grand Cape Mount County, expects to begin production in July 2015. That's according to the CEO, David Redding. They will produce 120,000 ounces of gold per year and employ 300 Liberians in what will be the largest commercial gold mine in that country.
Well, he's going to be a giant, this Liberia, I tell you. But tell me about the central bank in Nigeria limiting foreign currency borrowing. What is this all about, Wole?
That is certainly another big story in this region. The CBN recently released regulations capping Nigerian banks' FX borrowings at 75% of their shareholders' funds. The forex exposure of banks has been a concern for the central bank in a weakening oil price environment. The Nigerian banks lost billions of dollars, as you may know, when oil prices fell sharply in 2009. This led to the creation of the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria. Now, the good news, though, is that not many banks seem to be impacted by this rule at this stage. In a note recently released by Renaissance Capital, they said only Sky Bank looks likely to be immediately affected by the CBN's new rules.
So am I right, Wole, to say it sounds like it's only Sky Bank that's going to be affected by this?
No, absolutely not. The move has some implications for lending to the oil and gas sector. Local oil companies currently contemplating M&A deals are likely to bear most of the brunt of these new rules, as many were looking to the local banks to support them in upcoming deals. The new rules should limit the capacity of the local banks to fund all the upcoming M&A deals that are expected to move into next year.
Bonnie and Wole is the point where we talk about the imaginary $10,000 that I want to invest in your region. Which stock do you recommend that I should invest in and why?
Well, Victor, I'll have to go with the cigarette makers BAT. They have a fantastic performance all month long. Looking at their share price actually hit a record 1,000 shillings and 36. Percentage change in October was up 20%. Year to date, percentage change at just about 72%. So that's really a good place to put your money, Victor.
Catch a fire in East Africa. What about West Africa, Wole?
Well, Victor, I think I will have to go with Stanbic IBTC. We continue to see very positive numbers out of the bank. Of course, we're in earnings season in Nigeria, and by far, Stanbic IBTC is the best performer in terms of growth of earnings, and that has been confirmed recently. And one big reason why I like Stanbic IBTC is because they're diversified. They're not just being impacted by some of the regulatory changes we're seeing in the banking sector, but because they have such a great wealth business, the earnings from that business compensates for the losses from the tightening we're seeing in monetary policy here.
Well, I know a lot of people in Johannesburg who will be happy to hear that. But in our trivia this week, I ask you, gentlemen, which country in North Africa on November 6th commemorates a campaign which took place between October 16th and November the 9th back in 1975. The event, for a clue, was called the Green March. How about you, Wole? Do you think you know what that country is?
I think I do. That would be Morocco.
Of course, Morocco, a Northern African country. 6th November is the commemoration of the Green March in Morocco to remember the campaign to reclaim the Western Sahara, which King Hassan II of this country believed to be part of the Morocco territory. After gaining independence from Spain in 1956, Spain had insisted that the United Nations should retain control over the Western Sahara after the International Court in The Hague issued an advisory that the people of Western Sahara have the right to determine their nationality. King Hassan II proclaimed that the Green March should commence on November 6th. Since then, Western Sahara has remained a disputed territory. For November 6th, then, we say a happy Green March Day to the people of Morocco and those of Western Sahara. We hit the pause button for now, folks. Until next week, Bonnie Tunya in Nairobi, thank you very much, and Wole Famureo out of Lagos. Stay tuned to CNBC Africa. We're back with you next week with more Africa business news. Until then, au revoir.